Equal housing lender.
Thrilled to be joined on the air by my good friend Susan Caplan. Susan's a skilled business communication and marketing strategist, and Susan works with a lot of schools, businesses, and organizations and individuals to help them gain a competitive edge in the marketplace. Susan, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Well, there's so much that I want to learn from you, and I know that many of our listeners are recent college graduates, and they are facing a tough employment situation out there. So I'm curious, how can recent college grads brand themselves successfully to position themselves for the jobs that are available?
Well, I work with talent acquisition managers, recruiters, and businesses, so I learn what successful individuals are doing, and it's anywhere from how well you have your handshake down to your voice, to how your voice is on the telephone, to how you dress. But the most important thing is, I tell students, don't let someone else determine your future. You need to take control. You need to understand what you need to do out there to get a job.
So it's the little things that make a big difference. But what about just applying for jobs online? I talk to so many people that say that is how their job search is conducted, looking online, seeing the position. Does that still work?
Well, it's a big part of your strategy, but it needs to be larger than that. But the truth is, I've seen individuals send out resumes online, and then they sit and wait and hope someone will respond. When you do that, you're letting someone else determine your future. There are formulas for making sure your resume gets read and that your story gets told. And you can put keywords in your resume that are being used in job descriptions. There are many things you can do to make sure your resume gets read when it's sent out.
And I have no doubt that our listeners are tired of me using the N-word, which is networking. But how does networking play a role in the strategy of a recent college graduate, or frankly anybody that's looking for a job?
Yeah, and it is for anybody. And I would say networking is a huge part of your strategy. Networking and LinkedIn, quite frankly. I just read that 60 to 80% of big companies are using LinkedIn to recruit. So you need to know what the tricks are to be on LinkedIn, to make sure they're finding you when they're looking for a job. But networking is critical.
Oh, that's great. Well, Susan, you have worked with so many different companies, including CNA Insurance, University of Chicago Hospitals, Abbott, Allstate, Kemper, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and the list goes on and on and on. And you've helped them on many different levels in terms of the marketing, branding, and communications. But let's talk about the business side of things for a moment. Employers are looking to hire, believe it or not. Employers are looking to bring on talent, including some young and fresh talent. How can they be competitive in looking for those recent college graduates that are all over the place? How can they make sure that their culture will stand out?
Well, and I work with companies on putting together strategies to attract young grads. For students, it's really about your brand and what they think and hear about you. They don't want T-shirts. They don't want mugs. They want to know that you're making the world green. You're making the world a better place for them. So it was interesting. Harvard Business just had an article that, and students rated, and they said people and cultural fit are the number one things they want to look for, or career potential. Compensation was number 4. So we tell companies to use social media selectively, host virtual job sessions, make it the application process easy. And there's little things companies can do right now to attract the best talent.
That's great, and companies should be implementing those things. So, Susan, if there's one thing that our listeners can do while they're listening to the show, our last guest talked a little bit about fitness, so hopefully they're not sitting on the couch listening to the show. Hopefully they're being active. But if there's one thing that our listeners should do when they get off the couch and they get in front of their computer, what are those tips? Do you think LinkedIn's important? What should they be doing to sort of change and revolutionize their job search? You mentioned the word branding several times. There must be something in terms of identity that they can do.
Well, decide the 3 things that you want people to know about you, and then start practicing your pitch. Start practicing how you tell your story, and make sure that story is clear through your resume, through how you answer questions in an interview, when you meet people at a networking event. Practice this ahead of time, and think of the 3 things you want people to say about you when they walk away. I call it networking for dummies. If you don't tell people what to say, they'll make something up. So tell them, think about the 3 critical points and skills that you have, and make sure that's also part of your strategy.
Well, it's interesting. Talking about networking, I meet with, as you know, Susan, a lot of job seekers, and sometimes I leave the meeting with them. I'm giving of my time. I want to help them, but I leave the meeting, the cup of coffee, more confused than when we started, and that should never be the case. A job seeker should always leave the people that they're networking with, whether it's a potential employer or a informational interview session, as networking is typically called, even more clear. People should be your ambassador, be your advocate, be your fan. It might be a family friend, it might be an uncle, but everybody out there should be able to help you. So, as you said, make sure that you are doing it and make sure people are not doing it for you. Really important. So, Susan, you've got a lot to say on the subject. I wish we had more time, but we're running out of time. How can people learn more and find your books?
Oh, that'd be great. They can reach me. Go to my website, and it's SusanCaplan.com, and that's Caplan with a C, SusanCaplan.com. And you can reach out to me through the website. You can learn about the books and order them there, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody.
Fantastic. SusanCaplan.com, and I really encourage our listeners to get on the website because Susan has so many tips, advice, and so many great books. Strongly encourage you to get in touch with Susan. After the break, we've got more tips, advice, and information. You're listening to Get Down to Business. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to the show all about small business.